Hello and welcome to this week's episode of In Distress, a podcast where I talk about nonsense in the comfort of my childhood bedroom. I am going to be painting my nails this week. I feel like as long as I have an activity to do while I do this podcast, it will make me less nervous to come on here. First of all, if you are watching this or you're like a longtime listener and you're listening and you're like, girl, where have you been? I am so sorry. It's been quite a long time, and I did have that goal earlier this year to post every single week, and that was really my goal back when I wasn't doing other things, and now I am doing other things, and it's time consuming, like in a good way, but also like when you have like a passion for something, and which I've talked about before, and like reimagining what I think about this podcast and what I want it to be and how I feel about the results. I've been getting a lot of emails recently about this podcast, and a lot of people have been like reaching out, like, oh, like we had this great program of how you can get from this amount of listeners to this amount of listeners, and we can really help you with it. And I don't think I want help with this podcast. I really don't. I have fun with it, and I enjoy coming on here and talking about pop culture stuff sometimes. At the same time, I do just like to come on here and talk about the fact that I'm struggling with life, because we all are, and sometimes I'm up good about life because sometimes life is great and sometimes it's not. And I don't really know if I want this to be about any of the other things that everything else in my life is about. And in saying that, I do have many things to say about TikTok and all of that. I'm so confused. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. We need to get to the nails at some point, but like, let's actually break this down. First of all, there was a girl on TikTok. She said if you dip your hands in like ice cold water, when you paint your nails, then it won't smear anything and it'll make them dry quick. And so if that doesn't work, my mom gave me this beauty fan, and I'm going to use that instead. But like the idea, and a reason why I never paint my nails, which is so, because actually, let's actually have the conversation. First of all, we all know that I'm bi, gay, whatever it is. I don't put a label on it. At this point, girl, I'm just out here. Okay. Whoever loves me and I love them, it is what it is. That's where we're at. That's been the motto since I was like in high school, and we're gonna keep going with that. I only cut my nails like when I'm playing guitar, and I have not picked that damn guitar up. So my nails have actually been getting longer. And I usually keep my nails clean. Like I do, like when I wash my hands, you wash your hands. And really, actually, when we talk about washing hands, it reminds me of COVID. Not even COVID times, because technically we're still in COVID times, but like, like when it was really like this is how you need to wash your hands. It was like, you wet your hands, pump that soap, and you get in there and you start washing. And then, and really this is what I learned from cooking class. And I was in cooking class, which home ec, I was in the cooking classes with my friends because we like to eat. And we wanted to eat during school, you know what I'm saying? And I would eat, and my friends would bring lunch because I grew up in that area and that kind of time. Like, I'm going to make this make sense. Because everybody was like, I grew up in a predominantly white area, and like a lot of like, like, the moms be at home. The moms be at the house sometimes, some of them. And they would have time to like pack that lunch. And my mama was not packing no lunch. She was writing that check real quick. Here's your check for lunch. And when I got to the high school, it just got to the point where I was like, I don't want to waste her money. Like the food isn't good. And when it's not good, I'm not going to eat it. But during our little cooking classes or whatever, we would get to eat during the week, like in class. And I would eat that up every single time. And anyways, and so we would learn like when you're cooking, like you definitely need to be washing those hands. You need to get underneath the nails and like scratching your palm so that it's getting underneath the nails and cleaning them and all of that. And that's a whole thing. But yeah, I don't know where that tangent came from. Anyways, oh yeah, the nails. And I usually keep them cut because I was playing the guitar, and then I was not touching that damn guitar. And now I'm in a really like complicated like flow with that right now that we're going to get to later. And anyways, I usually take a bath for my self-care. Like, I love taking a bath. Like, any chance that I have to take a bath in my home, I don't take baths outside of my home. That's second. That's first and two. That's one and two. I don't feel comfortable in any old tub. And it could be like one of the nicer tub. If it's like, okay, it depends on the type of tub. Because if it's like, oh, we got a rental place, right? Then, okay, yeah, maybe I'll get a tub if it looks clean. But even then, I'm hesitant. Like, I'm like, the way that my mother has raised me and my sister, like, I'm just like, it's not that I'm a germaphobe, but like I am though. And it's not that I'm bougie because I'm not. Like, I didn't grow up the way that like you're imagining in your mind. Like, I need you to like really think like my bed. This is a twin bed, okay? This is the bed that I've had since I was maybe like in like 5th grade, 6th grade, okay? And okay, probably even like second, third grade, truly. This is the bed I've had. I've only ever lived in it. I've only ever slept in a twin bed. When I was in college, obviously a twin XL. And I was like, that's normal to me. And I've never experienced really anything outside of that. So, and then is this is the room. Like the camera, there's a wall right behind this like camera. Like the room isn't large. Like I don't have like when I would go to my friends' houses growing up, I'd be like, damn, this is crazy. And it really was crazy. Like the family, like it's like the family lives on land. We're working with very different lifestyles at the same time. My mom not gonna have us in no crazy place, okay? She's gonna get us a nice little rental place, or she's gonna get us a nice little hotel. And then when we get there, we are hitting the bathrooms with our own cleaning supplies. We are in there because people don't be cleaning like they say they do. We're checking the bed for the bed bugs, and maybe that's normal for some people, but it's not normal for a lot of people. It's not. And that's that on that. But that's how I've grown up. And so basically and like when I was younger, I used to be dirty. I did not care about like cleaning up. I did not care at all. Like I did not. I hated doing chores. And now that I'm older, I'm like, I really care about every element of like my life, and like low key making sure that I feel comfortable in the spaces that I'm in, and that the spaces are clean and all of the things. And obviously that goes for like body, mind, and how all of that is collective. Because really, when this room looks like a train wreck, which it never does anymore because I'm always recording a podcast, and I can't have this damn room dirty after y'all know what happened that last time that lady was like, oh, I see something on the corner of your bed. Can you clean your room? Can you clean your room? Like, lady, you have no clue what I'm going through. You have no clue. If my bed has clothes on it that I haven't folded or put up in my closet, the room looks a hot mess. You would think a train ran through it, but that's just not the case. It's just tiny. It's just a tiny space, okay? Think of like one of those little like warehouse. When people go and get those little storage lockers, my room is probably the size of a storage locker. Yeah, if not a little bit smaller. That's the type of time we're on, and to be growing and developing in this space is a lot. And, it's like, I want to move out, I want to do that. I would love to take that next step to being an adult, but the economy is ass, and we're going to get to that later on. But back to what I'm supposed to be talking about. I went and I cut my nails after I took a bath today, because, you need to do that when like the nail is like soft, you know what I mean? You need to do that then. And so I did that, and this is what we're working with. And actually back to like the whole, because I was talking about my sexuality, which is crazy, but, the girls be like, oh, you need to cut your nails. And that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. And so I do. And I was like, you know what? Just for kicks, let's paint them, because I was supposed to be I went on a trip with with another side of my family like a while ago. And I was gonna, like, I needed to get my toes done, because like I be having my feet out, toes not done, because I don't care. I really don't. I'm starting to get to the point where I don't care about certain things, and that's one of them. I'd be like, girl, don't look at my feet. Like, if you got a problem with the feet not being painted, don't look. Just don't look. That's on you. If you get disgusted and gross, that's on you. Which my feet aren't disgusted and busted up and gross, so like that was already like a little too much. But my mom be clowning, and she always has her nails and toes done all the time. So I was like, I'm gonna go to Target, and I'm basically broke because I don't have a job, and we're barely making ends meet at this time. And I was like, I'm gonna go and get some nail polish, which I did, which I think this is a really cute color. I hate the hassle of doing my nails because of the smearing and because of it's just a lot. And like the smell is honestly overwhelming and I smell it for day. It's a whole thing. Anyways, but I was like, I'm gonna get the nail polish, and then I got the nail polish. My mom was like, I'll pay for you to get your toes done. And then I was like, I'm never gonna use this nail polish. It's gonna go to waste. And so I was like, you know what? Let's just do it today. Like I'm feeling a little adventurous with the nails. So why not do it? And I'm also kind of bored. And I also feel like I need this podcast to be kind of centered around like an activity now because or else I'm just like not gonna do it. And I really do want to do it because this podcast is actually, I think, somehow tied to my sanity. And I actually really struggle with the idea of that because it's like, what happens when like I can't do this podcast anymore? Like what happens if like I'm concerned. I have a lot of thoughts. I am actually being ruled by my thoughts at this time. Anyways, but I did want to come on here and say it's been a while and I'm happy to be back. And if you wanted to hear what I said about Normani's album or Tyla's album and whatever was going on last week or like 2 weeks ago with them, I definitely posted that and I talked about it and you can go and check that out. It's everywhere that this podcast is available audio wise. It's just not on YouTube because I just wasn't mentally in the right headspace to make that happen. Anyways, also I braided my hair last week, which I think came out pretty well. I'm proud of my work. They're not my best braids, but we got the job done. Anyways, I have here on my notes losing passion, which is so valid. And I have actually need to start off with the idea that here's the thing. I went to this and I need to start doing the nails. So let me get on that. I went to and honestly, I think the shape of them is fine. I don't even think because I had lost my nail clipper for a very long time, and so I would just file my nails down with this, and it was so fun. But I think I like the shape of all of them. I don't really think I need to really maybe like a little bit like on the pointer fingers. We could get that a little rounder. Anyways, but what was I talking about? Oh yeah, it's hot as hell. I think I don't know what I was gonna talk about. It was my friend Celine's birthday the other day, and she was an art major, and so like all of her friends are art majors. And I went to Georgia State, which I'm wearing my sweatshirt right now. GSU. My diploma's on the floor over there, and because I can't afford a diploma frame because they're actually really expensive, and I don't have the money for that. Anyways, but I bought a frame, no, I didn't buy a frame. I got the diploma or whatever, but I went there and one thing that was so cool about Georgia State is that because Atlanta is like this like hub and it's very artsy and stuff, like that was very much reflected in the student body, which is something that I really loved about the school, is that like there were just people like of so many different walks of life like walking around, and also something that I really enjoyed, actually, well, not enjoyed because it was really sad to see actually, but it's like it was also like the reality of the situation was when I was going to Georgia State, because it's literally in the middle of Atlanta and a lot of people don't like Georgia State because of that. A lot of people transfer because of that. They don't like it, which is so valid because going to school in the middle of the city is insane, especially a city like Atlanta. Like that is crazy. But I have always like loved the idea of Atlanta and like the city, like especially like growing up around it, and like my grandparents live there, and like gentrification is happening, but like for me to have seen it pre-gentrification, and like for my mom to have grown up there with like her siblings and obviously her living with her parents and stuff, and my parents met at the High Museum, which is so cool, and there were just a lot of things, and I was like, I really want to go to Georgia State, and I want to make Black friends and be intentional about it, and I want to be in touch with my roots and my community and all of these things, and it's not that far away from home, and it was just the perfect storm of events for me, and I never really left my little town, so it was like, I want to go there, and I want to be like exposed to different things in life, and I definitely was, and a big part of Georgia State and really a lot of colleges is like seeing and encountering homelessness. Like, and to me, I think what really sucks about, and this is actually a really great segue, what really sucks about the Supreme Court and like the things that are happening, the decisions that are being made, just like seeing these people like every single day, and like honestly, I saw a video on Instagram the other day of somebody taking like their grad pictures at Georgia State. And like basically when you're taking your grad pictures in Georgia State, you're literally just in the middle of the street taking pictures. And there was a woman who was homeless, and I remember she took some pictures with with the girl who was in the video, and people were in the comments like, "Oh my gosh, I know her. Like she would always ask me about like classes and stuff." And oh, I remember, like I'm glad that she's, doing okay and that she's, doing well and she's alive and stuff, and so happy to see her again and hope she's doing well and wishing her the best and stuff like that. And there's something about that that's like, it is like homelessness is something that people struggle with in America, yes, but to see like people living that life while in contrast to like you going to school and like honestly living a privileged life of being able to go to the dining hall and get food, like, and to have a place to stay on campus or to have a place to go home to after class is over. Like, I think my experience there, like, it really makes you think. It really, because, and not even to get like really super deep into it, but it is like, wow, I have the opportunity to do something here. And I hope that maybe one day I'm able to help these people, or even not even that, because there are some people who aren't looking for help out of that situation. But, and which again, it's a very complicated situation, but it's still like you see that and you're like, you recognize that that could be you. And even like now, especially with like how the economy's going and everything, and people being laid off their jobs and the job market not being that great and inflation and all that stuff, it is like everybody is like one bad accident or like two or three unfortunate events happening at the same time. Like that could be anybody. And so like the fact that the Supreme Court is making being unhoused like illegal, and they're penalizing people for that, like that is so disturbing. And I can't, and it's just like I don't know what we're doing. Like when you really break down that situation, I don't know what we're doing here, and I don't know where we're going as a country, and I'm very concerned about it, which is something that I was going to talk about later. But and I actually had this conversation with my friend Paige earlier today, because she was kind of like, I don't know like what we're going to do. And she's been very much like in the headspace of like, we're doomed, which is so fair because we really are. We really are. But it's just like I want to be optimistic about like what is coming next. And at the same time, it is like we have a president in office right now who's going for re-election against somebody who has a strong support base. And after like gerrymandering and redistricting and stuff has happened within like different areas in the country, and especially in Georgia, and voter suppression happening here, it's like I don't it's really hard to be hopeful right now. And it's kind of just like we were having the conversation, and she is like, we're just doomed. Like, I don't know what we're going to do. And like, well, actually I was the one who was like, we're doomed. She was kind of like, I just don't know what we're going to do. And I was like, I'm just out here using my platform on TikTok to tell people to go out there and vote and register. And she was kind of like, I think we're past the point of voting, which is true. We are like, but at the same time, it's just like I'm at the point where it's like I can only do like what I can control. Like, And I hate that it's gotten to the point of being like, I can only control what is in like my hands to control, but that is the truth at the end of the day. Like, I can only do so much. Like, I can't like spend my time worrying so much about what shoulda, coulda, woulda. Like, at the end of the day, like I really hate saying that, because I am like trying to be optimistic and hopeful, and I do hope that things can get better. But it's also like, I've talked about it here on this podcast before, like, Biden is not at all my first option, not my first choice. Like, if I had a list of 10 choices, neither of them would be in my top 8, or it wouldn't even be on the top 10 list. If I had like 10 other options outside of them, and then they were like 11 and 12, I would pick the other 10, or like literally anybody from the other 10. And it's just like, I am at the point where it's just like, I've accepted it. Like, I'm over like the trying to like figure out an answer, which really sucks to be at this headspace, because I do care about other people, and I understand that the world is bigger than me. But it's also like, I feel like we as citizens have been made to feel small, and that is intentional. And for people who are awake and are paying attention to the fact that our rights are being stripped from us slowly, and really not even slowly for women, but like as a whole, as an entity, like our rights are being stripped away from us. And I'm tired of people trying to like, or not even trying, I'm just kind of over people like kind of fear mongering about it, because it's just like the fear mongering hasn't worked. Like, it's just at the point where it's just like, whatever happens, happens. Like, it's out of my hands. And that feels like such an irresponsible thing to say. Like, absolutely go out there and you need to vote. You need to like research about like the topics that you care about, hot button issues. Like, I talked about this on other points, but I took a little quiz about like it was like this whole, I don't even know what kind of quiz it was, but it was like, it told you if you were like liberal, moderate, or conservative, and where you fell on the spectrum. And then you like answered questions about different topics, and then that determined like where you were at. And there were so many things that I had no clue like were important or went into politics and where you fall on that spectrum. And I remember like there was a question about fracking, and I was like, girl, what the hell is fracking? What is that? And so I Googled it, and I found out what fracking was. And I was like, oh wow, like I'm against that. Like, we should not be going to the deep pits, drilling into It was a whole thing. It was too much. And offer like carbon emissions to be released, like that are like way worse than like, I don't remember exactly what the chemical is, but like it's way worse. It was worse than what was really like, I think, is it CO2 that's causing the global warming? That class I took that I be telling y'all about all the time about that was basically like climate change and global warming. That class was tea, but I need to brush up on my stuff because I'm clearly slipping. But anyways, but there's like a certain type of gas, and I'm pretty sure it's CO2. Like too much carbon dioxide to whatever the hell. The two would make it dioxide. Anyways, it doesn't matter, semantics. But there's like a certain like gas that's released in the air from like, cars and stuff, that's carbon emissions. Damn, that's it. Anyways, but those get released, and then it causes the hole that's in the ozone to get bigger, and honestly, the ozone, wow, guys, we're in trouble. Damn. Talking about it, damn, we're in trouble. But it is like, I actually saw a TikTok the other day, and this girl was like, wow, it's hot, and like, in other countries they have like trees and stuff to like cool down, which, yes, the natural coolants on the earth are things like trees and, canopies, and that's how the rainforest actually stays together. And I'm just on here yapping about, okay. Anyways, but that's how the rainforest and stuff stays together. And, that ecosystem is able to like live and exist. And when you hear things like, oh, the Amazon's on fire, when you hear things like, oh, Australia is on fire, or like, even like for me, like I can't tell you how many like housing projects, like how many houses, how many subdivisions are being built around where I grew up and where I've grown up is like it's in the sticks a bit. And like we just had it's always just been like a bunch of trees, and that's really just been it. And I loved that about where I live because I love just like riding around and being able to see like the beauty of what exists here already. And so like to see like just acres of trees being cut down for houses that nobody can afford. Like I'm talking about these houses are going for like $600,000, like 500. Like I'm telling you, like prices that I can't even fathom and that I can't imagine people like being able to afford. And people are moving into these houses and I don't know how. I don't know what jobs they have, but they're moving into these houses, and some of them aren't. Like some of these houses are not going to be sold in any timely fashion. But they're like cutting down these trees and they're doing all of these things, and it's so upsetting to like see like where you've grown up like slowly being demolished just for more people to move into the area, and the traffic is getting worse. And it's just like we just have America has asphalt. That's what we have. Like in Europe, they have like cobblestone, or like they have like stone steps and like brick and stuff, and then and like little pathways. And you know, I've heard about those, how people go on vacation and they be bringing that big luggage, and they can't even get up and down the street good because it's not paved. Anyways, but like we're not doing that. That's not the type of vibe that we're on. And it's just asphalt and parking lots and concrete everywhere. And it just, we're losing recipes. We're losing recipes. And I really hate that. Anyways, on to the, oh yeah, but what I was supposed to be talking about is how it's hot as hell. It's hot as hell, and it's raining and storming almost every other day. And you know when it does that, it just makes it hotter. And then on top of that, like hurricane season, I've heard, is starting earlier. And I don't know what we're doing. And like a girl like me, because what I was supposed to originally be talking about from that point before I went off on that tangent about fracking and global warming, was that I went to my friend's birthday party, and it was a nice little gathering. And you know, there were so many different people there, and it was just really nice and really cool that like all of her friends are like chill enough for us to all like hang out and like just talk. And I thought that was really cool. But there was this tent, and we had sat outside. And if you've ever been to Georgia or Atlanta, like, you know, it's humid and hot as hell. Like when it's summertime, before it was summertime, we were already hitting like 95. We already hit like 95. So it's like, it's actually hot as hell, and there's no breeze coming through to you. Like the breeze is hot. Okay. The wind that's blowing at you is hot. Like imagine somebody just breathing on you. Like, it's like that. It's like that. Yeah. And so we were out there, and it was hot, but like I wasn't like I was sweating a little bit, but like not to the magnitude like people who are not from here. And they were like, oh my gosh, it's so hot. And like it was hot, yeah, but like I didn't need a plate to be fanning myself. Like I was like, I'm from here. Like I keep it a buck. Like I can survive out here. It's humid and I'm glistening. Like this isn't sweat. I'm repurposing the sweat as glisten, and I was. Like you wasn't gonna catch a bead of sweat dripping down my forehead. No ma'am. No ma'am, never that. It was like encapsulating, and like it was like coming back into the skin. I sound stupid. Anyways, but it was actually a really fun party. And what happened was they were drinking gin. And here's the thing. I've never had gin before. This was like my first time having it. And honestly, I can do without it. My friend had made rum punch, and we were just like eating and having a good time and just talking and stuff. And she had made rum punch, and the rum, it was actually quite good. And we all took like a gin shot. And here's the thing. My friend, she's like a year older than us, but like she has friends who are like older, like maybe like later 20s, early 30s, mid 30s and stuff. And so like these are seasoned veterans, okay? And they were like, yeah, let's do a gin shot. And I was like, I've never had gin before. And my friend was like, oh, it's like flowery. And I took it, and I was like, I can do absolutely without that again. I will never take another gin shot again. It's like it went down, and then it like, but like how like when you take a shot of like tequila or like vodka or something, it's like, oh, it's warm. Like, I feel the warmth in my body. And like it went down and it was warm. The gin, it went down and then it came back up hot, and I was like, oh wow, oh wow. And that was a feeling I never wanted to experience again. And then we went and we changed, because they were like, let's go out to the club, and I was like, okay. And then I didn't make it to the club. I didn't make it to the club because that day I had been braiding my hair and I had stayed up and like woken up. I only had like 3 hours of sleep, and like I had been up like almost all day trying to get ready and leaving, and I did not make it to the function. I fell asleep on my friend's bed, and she has a cat, and it's like a long-haired cat, not like one of those little, a little mitten short hair little situation. It was like more of a long hair situation, and I low-key forgot that I'm allergic to cats. And it's not even necessarily that I think I'm allergic to cats, because I used to have a cat, but again, it wasn't a long-haired cat. So I'm over there, and like this cat was on the bed, like it was on my back, like it was walking on my back. And I was like, dang, this is really crazy. Like there's a cat on my back and I'm not thinking about anything because I'm sleepy. So I was knocked out. And then when my friends came back to get me so we could go back to their place when we go to sleep, I like got up and I was laying like on the mattress where the cat had been laying before I put my body into the bed, and like my eye was swollen. Yeah, it was swollen and red and itchy, and I actually just had to like walk around with my eye closed. It was pretty bad for me. Like it was so itchy and I kept rubbing it and it was not helping. And then like I was sneezing and I was unwell. And then my eye, when I woke up the next morning, my eye was a little red. Luckily it cleared up. It was a little puffy still. But I was like, dang, I forgot that I'm allergic to certain types of cats. And that is really crazy. Like I can't do a cat. I can't do a cat really, I fear. Which is kind of sad because I've always wanted like one of those little orange cats, and I wanted to name him like not Mittens, but like I've wanted to name him something that I can't really recall, but I've always wanted one of those little orange cats with a little white right here, like on the neck part. I've always wanted one of those, and like I want the paws white too. And I feel like I wanted to name him like Mittens or something, or like Chester. I don't know, but I've always wanted one of those cats. And now it's kind of like I'm nervous because I don't know if my body can handle that type of cat. You know what I mean? When I finished that sentence, I was kind of like, what is this podcast about? Don't question it. Just keep pushing. Anyways, and yeah, anywho, on to the next topic. Eyebrow lore. I was on TikTok and I posted one and somebody was like, oh my gosh, this is off topic, but I love your eyebrows. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. Because honestly, when I was younger, wow, I love a good trauma dump episode. I love that. I love it. When I was younger, I had terrible self-esteem. Like it was so low. It was so low. And what I would do was, when I was in high school, it was really low. Like it was actually quite bad. And I was very transparent about that with my assistant principal at the time. And she was like also my third grade teacher. So, basically she just was watching me grow up and become the person that not am today, but like, yeah, you get what I mean. And she was just so great and always believed in me and all the things. And I told old girl, like, yeah, I'm really struggling. My self-esteem is pretty bad. I just don't feel pretty. I'm not seeing the vision. I don't get it. And to be fair, I was a young Black girl who did not know anything about gel. I was getting the creamy crack in my hair. I just didn't know who I was. But like at the same time, who in high school knows who they are, And so she was like, okay, every day I want you to come and talk to me and tell me one thing that you love about yourself. And I was like, girl, okay. And so the first day I chose my eyebrows, because one thing about these eyebrows, they have always been thick. and they have always been like, they've always looked like this. And my mom has never allowed me or my sister to really touch our eyebrows or do anything to them, because she would talk about how when she was growing up, it was in like, it was like a trend to like over pluck them. And she was like, I don't want you guys to like mess up your eyebrows because they're beautiful and pretty. So don't do anything. So like she would only let us go like to the nail salon, and she would tell us that we could get them touched up, but like only, like only taking off, like a little on the like top and the bottom and in the middle. And so to this day, that is how I take care of my eyebrows. And so like whenever somebody gives me a compliment about my eyebrows, like I really deeply feel that, because at one point in my life, that was like the only thing that I liked about myself, which is so tragic and sad. But at the same time, I think when you think about it like that and you look back on life, it's kind of like, okay, yes, that was really bad, but every day I would go and I would find something new that I loved about myself. And now we're here. And I don't think you can be too mad about that. I think everything that has happened to me happened for a reason. And I think that I've become a better person for that. And, sometimes you just go through that kind of stuff. Like I think a lot of people go through that, and some people like don't even get out of that thinking until they're much older. And I'm very grateful to Miss Girl for always making sure that I was good mentally and I was okay. So can't be mad at her for that, and I appreciate her every day for a lot of the lovely things that she said to me. And when I tell you that that trick did not work, look at this. No ma'am. She didn't eat. She didn't eat. Maybe I didn't hold them in the water long enough. See, because now the way that I have to like redo the base coat, this is kind of upsetting. And this is also, I gotta start believing people on TikTok, because those hookers just be dead wrong. They just be on the camera yapping. And now, like, because I don't have acetone or anything, like these nails they're about to be fucked, at least on the left hand. But it's okay. Maybe nobody will look. Only I'll know that they weren't great, which kind of sucks. Now I gotta turn this beauty fan on. I'm kind of upset that I just stuck my hand in cold water though. But you know what? We can't have everything in life. Anyways, on to the next topic. What is it? Oh yeah, TikTok beef. Here's the thing. I'm really thinking about a lot of things. I was almost in a TikTok beef today, which is kind of concerning, because if I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty sure that I come off this way. I'm not really like a girl who does beef. I'm not really that, and I'm so sorry if this fan is loud or something, because I do need to like dry the nails. So this is low key hella awkward, and maybe it's giving ASMR. I don't know. Anyways, but what was I talking about? Oh yeah, TikTok beef. I don't give fighter. I don't think that I give that. And I'm not a fighter. I actually asked both of my parents the other day. I was like, hey, have you guys ever been in a fight? Because I've never talked about that lore with my parents before. And they were like, oh, my dad was like, yeah, I think I got into like kind of like a push shove type fight when I was younger. But like my father just gives me and has always given me peacemaker. So like the fact that he's been in a fight was really interesting to me. But anyways, in any capacity, even if it was like a little push shove, like that's kind of crazy to me. Anyways, but my mom, I asked her if she's ever been in a fight, and she was like, yeah, like I've been in a fight like for my like brothers before. Like they probably said something. He used to just be yapping off at the mouth, and I have to go handle it. And I was like, ooh, okay, purr. Like my mom was fighting, but I was like, I'm not a fighter. I've never been in a fight. I'm sure you guys know that I don't give fighter. And my mom was kind of like, I think like, you fight for something that you need to fight for. Like sometimes you have to stand up for stuff. Like don't let people push you around. And I was like, you know what? She low key ate that for real. And here's the thing about TikTok. I understand that not everybody's going to agree with like the things that I say all the time. I try my best to not say things that are like that people wouldn't agree with, because I don't ever like I don't enjoy going back and forth with people. Like, it's not that fun. Like, and like if it's like, oh, like just something like goofy for me to do, like on my burner account, I love going back and forth with people on my burner account because it's very low stakes. Like, these people don't know who I am. Like, I don't know who they are. Like, it's just fun. We're just on the internet yapping, going back and forth, talking about stuff. That's fun. But like on TikTok, it's like, I really have to stand on business with the things I say. And it's not that I don't stand on business for things. It's just that, like, and this is actually a much more complicated and like conversation, because I was actually going to talk about what the TikTok beef was about, but I don't think I really care enough. And honestly, like, sometimes I wish that I didn't respond out of emotions for things, which sometimes I do, which which is kind of like something that I really do want to work on, which I don't do that like in my personal life anymore. Like I used to when I was younger. I used to be like a very, dang, that fan really be kicking. But when I was younger, a lot more than I do now. Like I used to be very emotional and like I like hot-headed. Like the second somebody did something to me, I was going to retaliate. And now I've kind of moved away from reacting in that way, which is great because as you get older, it is like you like reacting out of emotion isn't going to get you like what you want out of life, and so that's a whole thing. But I don't know. It's just, I think when I think about like what's going on with my social media and stuff right now, and I wrote all of this down. So like, and before I start painting my nails, I kind of just want to read it and then we can discuss. But I wrote, and this is quite vulnerable. So this is actually, it's kind of crazy what I be putting on the internet. But at the same time, I have to try to remind myself that I'm doing this for a bigger purpose, I think. Anyways, but I think I really am struggling with a lot of things right now, like one of which being that like I can feel that like, and I say like so much, I'm so sorry, but I can feel that good things are coming after having like a really rough start to the year, which I've talked about in very long detail on this podcast, of just like having like just struggling to start the year. And at the same time that I can feel like good things coming or like good things being on the horizon, I'm very afraid of what's on the other side of those things. And like, it's kind of like, I don't really know if it's like a fear of like success or if it's like a fear of failure or something. And I'm nervous about that. So like, I'm nervous about that. And then that leads me to this next train of thought, which is, this is conflicting because it's like, this is what I've worked for. Like I've been doing stuff on the internet and I'm good at it and I enjoy making people laugh and being entertaining, and I enjoy like talking about life and life being hard and being vulnerable and sharing that with people. And it's also like, how much do I share? How much do I keep to myself? And it's also in these moments, like I said, I've worked really hard for, and right now feels like the moments that I've like talked about for years on this podcast of where I want to be, and like getting a following on TikTok and stuff and reaching my goals and getting more listeners and viewers. And it's like, this is the moment that I'm supposed to be taking that leap that I'm always talking about, like living outside of fear and believing in yourself and having faith and believing that I'm prepared for like the next things that are coming in life. But also it's like every few days I'm reminded of why I question whether or not this is something that I want. Like, is it something I really want, or is it just something that I thought I wanted? Because yeah, the grass isn't greener on the other side, which is so valid because I don't know if the grass is greener over here. I'm actually quite confused about that, and I don't have the answer. And I don't know if I'm supposed to have the answer or not, or if I'm supposed to just go with it and then figure the answer out. I really don't know. And I'm terrified of making a mistake or saying the wrong thing or spreading the wrong information. I'm terrified of responding to things out of emotion. I'm terrified of my intentions not coming across the right way. I'm afraid to make the mistakes other people have made. Like, and other people, I mean, like, growing up watching like influencers and YouTubers and stuff, like them watch them make mistakes and then like get canceled, and then that's frightening. I'm afraid of that. But yeah, like I said, back to what I was saying, I'm afraid to make the mistakes other people have made. And at the same time, I understand I can't live my life afraid of things. And sometimes it doesn't matter what other people think. And that there's like a balance that has to exist about not caring what other people think and being authentic. And while there's that balance of being yourself and not caring what people think, it's also like it's important to care about what people think sometimes so that you don't make mistakes or hurt people in the process. And it's just becoming very complicated. And lastly, on that thought, I wrote something else. And it's like, if I'm thinking this way now, like worried about making a mistake and worrying about like saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing or spreading misinformation or my intentions not like being clear or people not understanding my intention or misinterpreting it, what will I be thinking like when I get even more followers? It's like if I'm thinking this right now with like 11,000 followers, which whoop whoop, we made it. Like what am I going to be doing when if there's like more than that? Like what am I going to do then? And then that leads me to thinking the fact that I'm thinking about the repercussions of all of these things is a good thing, right? Like that shows that like I care about something and that I have like I understand like the weight of all of this, and I understand what having an audience, quote unquote, or like followers, quote unquote, would mean for me, and what, and like not the power that comes with that, but like what comes with like the responsibilities of having followers and having a platform and using your voice and using that platform for good things. But at the same time, it's like if I'm overthinking everything, I'm going to end up right back where I was with like the music stuff of like overthinking everything so much to the point that I don't want to do it, and that I get in my own way of achieving those dreams because I'm overthinking and overanalyzing everything. And that makes me extremely nervous and afraid, and I don't know what I'm doing, which leads me right back to the beginning of this episode. I have no clue what I'm doing. I don't know what the right answers are, and I don't know. It's not that I thought that this was going to be easier, but I did, and that sounds terrible to say, but I did think that this was going to be easier than it is, and the fact that it's not is kind of jarring, and I don't really know what to do. Like obviously I want to make the right decisions and like be the person that maybe I didn't necessarily always see growing up, and I want to do this, that, and the third, and at the same time it's important in life to make mistakes. Yes, absolutely, obviously. But at the same time, like when you have people watching what you're doing, or when you do make a mistake publicly, it's like, oh my gosh, like what am I going to do? Like are people going to like are they going to cancel me? Like, oh my god, what happens next? And that's where I'm at right now. I'm like, okay, well what happens when I do mess up? Like, and it feels like when people are watching you, it feels like you can't mess up, and I'm concerned about that. Like what, like maybe I do feel like I can't mess up. And I do feel that way, but I feel that way even in my regular life of like just living my life amongst like my family and friends. I don't want to make mistakes because I feel like a lot of times mistakes cost you other things in life. But at the same time, it's like, and I hope I'm making sense. And at the same time, it's like if you live a life without making mistakes, like, did you really live? Like, you never risked anything because you were so afraid to make mistakes. And it's like, at what point am I just like, just girl, just shut up and just do what you need to do? And it's also at what, like, what's the line here? Like, what's the balance? Like, how do we go about fixing this? And I don't know if there is a way to fix this. And also, these nails look absolutely atrocious. Wow, I can feel like the nail polish remover bringing itself out from the cabinets. Like, this is actually crazy. It's just like so lumpy. Like, I just want to be great. These look terrible. You know what? It's only going to be me looking, but like, that is just not a good enough excuse for how these look. Like, these look absolutely atrocious. Like, actually, these need, like, somebody needs to call, like, somebody. I don't know who. I don't know who you would call for something like this, but these look absolutely atrocious. And they're thick as hell. Wow, that little this pointer finger, she didn't cook. Like, y'all look at that. I hope you can see it. Can you even? Yeah, that looks absolutely. You see it. Absolutely a fucking atrocious. And we're gonna keep going. And will. Anyways, maybe everything will like clear up on the second coat and then like the top coat. Fingers crossed. Anyways, back to what I was saying. Back to what I was talking about. But yeah, I am really extremely nervous about that and I don't really know what to do. And at the same time, it is like at some point I'm going to have to move past that thought. And also, we kind of need to discuss the comment section because I be having fun on TikTok, like yapping with people about basketball because that is like what I do now, apparently. And it's so fun. And at the same time, there are some people who are in the comments and they're low key. They be on my last nerve. It's just always about proving why I'm wrong about something, which, to be fair, that's what a lot of men were doing when I was talking about the NBA. So I can't really be shocked, but I am hoping that with my analysis of the WNBA, I'm hoping that people will be more forgiving this coming NBA season when I have things to say. But also at the same time, I feel like when the men were hating me because they didn't like my NBA takes, I felt like that was like a really great time for me because it made me stop caring so much about what people thought about me on the internet and whether or not people agreed with me. And now I'm getting used to people agreeing with me. And so when people disagree with me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to rectify the situation. And I feel like I have to fix things, but it's never that. And I really need to calm down. And I need to stop being so serious about my life. And yeah, that's basically where we're at mentally with that. Anyways, glad we got that out of the way. On to the next topic. Camila Cabello's album was really good, and you guys know that I love me some Camila Cabello. I've been listening to her music for an extremely long time. And with that being said, I think I came on here and I definitely have. I've definitely talked about her racist past and that situation and how I came to terms with it. And I'm not gonna lie, like I 100% get people not forgiving her. And at the same time, there are moments when I'm kind of like, dang, like, can people make mistakes? But this is like kind of the same thing of like, damn, that was about race though. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's low key giving unforgivable. Like some of the stuff that was posted, damn, like if you don't know about that lore, definitely go check that out if you want to. Actually, that's kind of anti for me to send people to it. But it's kind of like I do believe that people can learn and grow from certain situations, and I do believe that, to me, I feel like she learned and grew from that situation. At the same time, I don't know that lady, so who's really to say? But it's also like I thought her album was really great, and I understand people not being able to get past the racist thing. It does suck that like because of a mistake that she made, like people may never really like take her seriously or give her music a chance. But it kind of is like a really great example of what is this a really great example of? It's kind of a really great example that like sometimes like the decisions that you make are like life, like the repercussions are for a lifetime. It's not just like in the moment. And I'm not gonna lie, like there are certain aspects of that that suck in terms of, and let me turn this fan back on. There are certain aspects of that that kind of suck because it is like nobody's the version of themselves that they were when they were like 15 or whatever, but it's also like giving people a pass on being racist is complex. Wow. It's complex. It's a hard topic. And I think it's interesting. It's a gray area. For me, because I've grown up listening and watching her and stuff, it's like I feel like it's something I feel like I know her, and because of that I like excuse it, but it is like to a certain degree I understand people making mistakes, but that's because of how I've grown up and because of my experiences. Like, yeah, I've been in like the high school parking lot and people were screaming like songs with the N word in it and saying it. Like, that is how I've grown up, but like obviously like that's not okay. One, like that doesn't excuse anything, but it's also like I understand that sometimes like that's how you grow up and that's the culture that you grow up around, and that's what's deemed acceptable at the time, and that's just the truth of the matter. And at the same time, it's like accepting that there are a lot of people who didn't grow up like that and who would never be okay with that, and that's so valid. Can't even be mad at it. With that being said, the album was really great. I'm never going to like, and I think like that is not going to be like a good enough explanation for a lot of people in life, which is fair, but like it's a decision that I've made and it's justification enough for me. And I think also I have a problem with thinking that I need to justify everything and every opinion that I have. And that's just not the case. It's just, this is a really complicated, and it's also like nobody has the answers for me. Like I've seen like a bunch of influencers and like YouTubers and stuff like make mistakes, and I've seen them try to navigate what their life looks like after that. And it's like nobody has done this perfectly and nobody ever will do this perfectly. But at the same time, it's like I do want to avoid not being toxic or in drama or anything like that. Like I just want to be a girl who comes on the internet and yaps. And if people disagree with my opinions about certain things, that's fine. But I don't want it to be more than that. But at the same time, I understand like the climate of where we're living, and that people aren't very good at accepting that their experiences are different than other people's. And a lot of that goes into a lot of decisions or thought processes or things like that. But I thought that the album was really great. And like I said, I do hate that that's always going to be that nobody, there's going to be a lot of people who don't give her a chance because of what happened in the past. And it is like there are certain things that you do when you're younger that will affect you and define you for a lifetime. And I wish kind of that there weren't, that wasn't a thing. At the same time though, not to like compare racism to like a super bad crime or something, but it's kind of like if you go and commit a super bad crime, I'm not gonna like state the crime because I feel like that would be like doing a little too much, but it's like the same way that it's like you're deemed a criminal for the rest of your life. It's kind of like, oh wow, you did retweet some things or reblog some things, and now you are deemed a racist for the rest of your life. And at the same time, that there are a lot of people who are like, oh, like just because you went to prison doesn't mean that, like, because sometimes people go to like to jail or prison for like things, and now it's like that determines and decides the rest of their life. Because when it comes to like applying for jobs, you have to talk about, oh, being on probation, or at one point being convicted of something. And at the same time, that like that shouldn't be like a determining like something that stops somebody from getting a job or stops somebody from getting certain things in life, it's still like, I don't know, this is so complicated. Like, again, not to compare like reblogging racist quotes to like crimes or anything, but it is like there are some people, like there are a lot of things that people go to jail for, and it's like you served your time and you did what you needed to do, and you went through probation, and at the end of the day, like you're never gonna be able to like not have that thing follow you around. And it's just like, it's so tough because it is like people do things in everyday life that doesn't follow them around for the rest of their life. But like with these things, and like with being a celebrity, and with having a digital footprint, and with like, stuff like that, like paperwork, and needing to like talk about like your history and stuff, it's just, oh wow. Wow. Life is really crazy. Life is really crazy. But it's also really crazy to see so many people have like such deep, and maybe I would get canceled for this, but I think it's really crazy that people have such deep like moral things that they're willing to hold celebrities and influencers accountable for, but then there are other things that they don't, and like that they forget about. And I think that that's interesting. It's not crazy. It's just interesting that like some people and some like artists or celebrities or whatever, or some people in regular life, like don't get held to that same like accountability standard that like these other people do. And like you can say because they're celebrities and whatever, because they have a following, that's why, and because they have a platform, that's why. But it is really crazy. I hope I didn't say anything controversial this episode. That would be embarrassing. I'm trying to see if I have anything else to say. Oh, I have one more thing to say. Which I only finished one hand, and this is it. I think that this actually looks kind of good. Like, I think that this goes, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of hate seeing my like nails like close to my face painted. Like that's kind of like overkill. Anyways, but I have to do the other hand. So, and I won't be able to rest until then. And it's already 2:03 a.m., which is kind of unfortunate because I'm like actually a sleepy girl now, and I actually have like a sleep schedule like that regular adults have that I didn't have for a very long time. And now that I have it, it's kind of like I don't want to like mess it up. So I definitely need to go to sleep soon. So I might be going to sleep with just one hand with polish on it, I fear. But I had other things like final thoughts. Oh yeah, I hope I didn't say anything that would get me canceled. If I did, well damn, we tried our best. You know what I mean? I'm sure I've said some cancelable things as the years have gone on with this podcast, but luckily there are so many of them that I don't think that anybody would be able to find them. And actually, I don't think I've ever said anything that's like, oh, damn, you shouldn't have said that. Yeah, I don't think I've ever done that, actually. I try to be very careful with my words, which is low-key kind of a difficult thing to do when you're, like, have a podcast that's literally just you yapping, basically stream of consciousness. It's like, ooh, girl. But at the same time, I feel like I get nervous to get canceled, but it's also like it's not that hard to like not get canceled. Like it's not that hard to be like a thoughtful human being and like not, be xenophobic or homophobic or transphobic or racist. It's actually like when you think about it a little bit, like and like, yeah, sometimes your opinions don't hit on like social commentary, and maybe that's the situation. But outside of like people just not agreeing with your opinion, it's not that hard to like not be anti and like to not be ableist. You know what I mean? Or like ageist or sexist. It's really not that hard. I think that people make it seem like it's harder than it is. So maybe like I'm doing too much, like worrying too much about how people are going to interpret the things that I say and do on the internet. Maybe I'm tripping, because I just actually did take that whole breakdown, and it maybe sort of kind of wouldn't be the end of the world. Anywho, I appreciate you guys for listening. This was a pretty long episode, and I'm not going to edit it. I'm just going to post it on Spotify and stuff, audio version. And if you want to watch it on YouTube, then that's going to be available. But yeah, this was a pretty neat episode. I'm proud of my work this week, and really proud that I showed up for myself. I think that coming back on the podcast is going to be really great for me. And I've been applying for jobs and stuff, but I'm really going to keep making the push and stuff because finding a job is really hard at this time. But again, I really do appreciate you guys listening. If you did, I know that like maybe 2 people listen to this podcast, but I'm actually really grateful for it. And this has been really nice for me, and I'm glad that I have something. And maybe one day I'm super famous and somebody comes back and watches this and they're like, oh my gosh, this was a cool video. Who really knows? I'm going to finish this situation and then I'm going to be honest, I might go to sleep. Because, like, actually, I'm kind of concerned about it. It doesn't look that great. I'm probably going to wipe this off in the morning. Because it's, like, kind of clumpy. Like this. Hold on. Like this. This is kind of... Because, like, what happened at the top? Like, it has to be, like, user error. Like, this is, like, error. Like, this is my fault that it's like this, right? Gotta be my fault. Gotta be. This is honestly really sad. Like, I wanted them to be so pretty and perfect. And this is what I got. A clumpy hot mess. But you know what? People on TikTok and stuff, they've been doing this all their lives. I just really kind of sort of got into doing my nails, and really I'm not good at it, and I've only ever really done it like 2 or 3 times, so I really can't even be like that pressed. Anyways, I'm about to cut this off in a second. I'm really trying to be the best that I can be. I think that I filled most of the holes. That this is actually quite bad a little bit, guys. It's okay. I'm the only one who's gonna see it, but oh, I mean, like, oh, wow. That is... I put up a stinker on this one, guys. I put up a stinker. Now, what would happen if I put my hand back in the water? I wonder. I think that this was an interesting decision for me to make. This was very interesting. But anyways, I do want to thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Social media is in the description. I'm sure only 5 people are listening to this, but I appreciate all 5 of you. So, and I'm probably going to be one of the 5. So thank you guys so much for this. I really appreciate and love you. I'm going to see you guys on the next one next week. And it'll be up on the weekend. I'm not going to give you like a day. It's not going to be Friday. Because I have like my other podcast that I have to do, but it will be up over the weekend. And I guess I'll see you guys next week. Bye.